Okay, Tom, you're looking at the shopping center at Mission Valley, San Luis Rey, just outside of Oceanside, halfway between Los Angeles and San Diego. This is the Video Depot store, and prepare yourself for over an hour of the most boring conversation you've heard in your life. Surprise, here I come. Well, I guess you never expected me to come out the door, did you? Hi, Tom. I'm Dick Cunha, and welcome to Oceanside and the Video Depot store. As I promised you, here's the tape, and I'll try and fulfill all your requirements on it. Maybe a little noisy out here, so let's pick this up, continue this inside, and I'll give you, start off with a little resume. Okay, well first let me show you the shop, okay? Okay, we're inside now, and there's Paul. Say hello, Paul.
Hello.
All right, give you a chance to see part of the store, and on the left is our library. Here you'll see various films. The only films you won't see here is Giant from the Unknown, She-Demons, Girl in Room 13, and Missile to the Moon. We do have a good assortment of films, however, so I have a good chance to catch up on all of my old motion pictures. We have some cameras, various recorders, and sundry devices to transfer tapes with, and an area with a big screen to show the tapes on. Okay, this is the workshop in the back room where I try and have a little fun and play my hobbies and put my things together here. What's nice about this is the fact that I don't have anyone yelling at me and the equipment's reasonably quiet. Don't have any troubles. Okay, well, if you expect any amazing things or startling revelations, Tom, I'm afraid you're in for a big disappointment. I will try and answer the questions that you've put to me on your little green sheet, and we'll go from there. From then, it's all yours. I was born at a very young age in Honolulu, Hawaii. Grew up in the islands. And from the very beginning, I was interested in photography and the arts, and someday hope to be a newsreel camera person. In about 1940, I came to Los Angeles and went to the Art Center School. Studied photography, still photography, and spent some time there. And left there with a friend, a schoolmate, and we opened a still photo shop in Los Angeles, and operated that for about six months or so. And one Sunday morning, the Japs bombed my Pearl Harbor, and that annoyed the dickens out of me. So my friend was drafted. My partner was drafted into the Navy, or into the service, I should say. And so consequently, I decided I was going to win the war, help win the war, and joined the Air Corps, as it was called at the time. And I was very fortunate to get in the photographic division after a certain amount of basic training and some other stories that are too long involved to get in here now. But I got into the photographic division, and after a year in Lubbock, Texas at the Air Force training base there for pilots, twin-engine pilots, the advanced training base, I believe it was called, for twin-engine. I spent a year or so there, and was transferred to Washington in the Pentagon building into the motion picture division. I was more interested in that and got a break with the intention of going overseas with a combat camera unit. However, fortunately or unfortunately, when I got to Washington, they needed a newsreel team there, and consequently, I ended up spending a good deal of time back at Washington as a newsreel unit. And during that tour of duty, we did have some missions over to Africa and India, China, and South America, and we made quite a few documentaries in addition to our regular newsreel work. I was assigned to any of the activities involving President Roosevelt when it involved the Air Corps, and which eventually became the Air Force. After a couple of years in Washington, I got a transfer out to the first motion picture unit in Culver City, Hollywood here, where the first motion picture unit had a studio which used to be the Hal Roach Studios. So that was called Fumpu. I served a year there as a cameraman, motion picture cameraman, and got most of my basic training in motion picture work through the through the Air Force. At the end of the war, I was employed with a company called Gene Lester Productions, which was a small firm here that made industrial films. I was there for a couple of years, and then I opened my own company with some friends called Caravan Productions, and we produced industrial films. We made films for Admiral Radio, as I recall, and matter of fact, we put one of the first commercials on the air at KTLA local station here under the direction of Klaus Landsberg. And they were broadcasting the wrestling matches, and the sponsor there was Admiral Radio and Admiral Radio and Television. And we made some of their very first commercials. As I recall, we spent as much as $1,200 on some of these. Made about 5 of them. We made a mattress commercial, I vividly remember, local mattress firm, and we charged them $175 for that 1-minute commercial. So those were some of the very first commercials on the very first commercial station in Los Angeles. After Caravan Productions, I had the opportunity to go to work for Toby Anguish, kind of a strange name, but he was one of the early television distributors, and he had the Hopalong Cassidy series, the rights to those, which I'll mention a little more about later on in this reel. All right, now let's just change the background, the scenery, and I'll have to go find your green paper and get some of the more direct questions that you asked. I can't seem to contribute anything that's terribly exciting in that particular period of my life, other than the fact that I did like industrial films and just started breaking into television commercials, and didn't have a great deal of interest in features, although I did work during that period as a cameraman for some early westerns. Okay, I'm trying to do this in bits and pieces, and I hope it doesn't get too confusing for you, and I think you'll find some repetition in the various areas. I'm trying to get it all done today and finally get this off my chest. From the Toby Anguish era, which I I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. We went on to do these film and finally evolved to Leighton Productions. And the last epic, again, leaving the horrors behind, which was The Girl in Room 13, originally titled Leave Me Alone. And once we got started on that particular picture, I felt very strongly that the title should be changed, because that's probably what the public would do. This again was an H.G. Barrie script, which I felt needed a good deal of help. And as a matter of fact, Brian Donlevy didn't want to do the picture until it was rewritten. I went back to New York and convinced the producer that the only way it could intelligently be done is to be written in Brazil and take advantage of the locations and scenery down there. So they were convinced, and I went down to Sao Paulo and sat in a hotel room there for about 3 weeks rewriting the script, and phoned my revisions back to Brian, and he approved of them, and we went ahead trying to make this picture. Well, that picture was a chore. The facilities in Brazil were very inadequate. Most pictures they did down there were dubbed into various languages, and so consequently, first problem I had when we started production was they didn't want to use any sound at all, because it was just, as far as they was concerned, it was a waste of time, because very little of the sound would be used. We finally convinced them that we did need sound. We couldn't find good sound people. They didn't know how to operate a boom. The stages had dirt floors, and the sets were built so that it was almost impossible to open any doors in them. The film, the Brazilian tax on the film was, as I recall, something like 10 to 12 cents a foot, which was half the price of the film. So consequently, we had to be very careful with our film usage, and whereas we had planned and budgeted for something around 5 to 6 to 1, we ended up having to shoot about 3 to 1 because we couldn't get any film. Unless we had permits for it, they wouldn't allow the permits, so it wasn't a question of the cost, as we soon learned. It was also the difficulty of getting the film in. Most of the people in the film did not speak English, and it was necessary in some places for us to put signboards up, chalkboards with phonetic words or sayings so that they could open their mouths, and so we could dub in what we wanted them to say, and we just had to spell it out phonetically so that they would be able to make a line. So you can imagine how difficult it was trying to, shoot a scene down there. Brian did not like to rehearse, and most of the people needed about 10 rehearsals to get a scene right, and all of the camera marks and all of the other things that required, in filming. So we'd always have to have a stand-in for Brian. And then, of course, when he came on, he did the scene completely different and threw all of the actors off. It was a very, very difficult, procedure. The leading lady did not get along at all with the producer, and they were always at odds, which didn't make it any easier for myself. And the long and short of it was that I was very, very disappointed in what I thought could have been a very nice picture. It, matter of fact, it left a very bad taste in my mouth. And when I got back to this country,
I was determined to go back to my first love, which was industrial and commercials. And that's exactly what I did. Also, the feature business is so much negotiating for different, like everyone's on the short end of the stick, except the distributors and the major studios. So the other problem was I liked very much being able to do a commercial, because if it was a bad commercial, you were through with it in 2 days or 1 day or a half a day or whatever. Whereas in television or in the movie picture industry, as you well know, you're stuck with a project for week in and week out for quite some time. I did come back to the commercial business and was freelancing in that. And then had an opportunity to go to work for a friend of mine, Bob Stabler, who had been with Bill Boyd and Hopalong Cassidy, and we'd worked together on promotion material with Bill Boyd when I was with Toby Anguish. And because of his friendship, I went to board the Death Valley Days series, which was an early series in television. And I did, I believe it was 3 seasons of Death Valley Days, and that was a good company, and we had a wonderful time doing that. And also did the cinematographer on a series called Branded with Chuck Connors, also produced by Bob Stabler. We did that at Paramount. But the hours, again, were so long, and I got no great satisfaction out of the television series, because it was just someone fired a gun early in the morning. You just went to work, and when their 10 hours were up, somebody fired another gun or pulled the bull switch and turned off the lights, and that was the end of your shooting day. And they were just very, very pleased if you got an image and film, and that's about all you expected to do. And you drove the crew that you could get a required number of pages in a day. So I was decided against that, going back to the television field, and I started freelancing again as a cinematographer and a director for television commercials, and got hooked up with EUE Screen Gems, which is a subsidiary of Columbia Pictures. And I've spent my last 20 years, if you please, making television commercials out of Columbia Pictures. And I've enjoyed that a great, great deal. And, in fact, I still enjoy it. Nevertheless, I wanted to move out of town, and that's why I'm here in Oceanside, California now, and I've opened up this business, and I hope eventually to do everything here and not have to go back to the big city. Right now, we've been open here at the store for about 3 months, and I haven't done any photography in town. My contract expired by mutual agreement in December the 31st, 1981, or 1982, excuse me. And so now I'm freelancing, and I'm working for the studio and also for independent producers. For instance, Fred Levinson Company is hiring me later on this month to do some 7-Up commercials, and we have a week's worth of work there. I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I'll be with some other companies and get along with them. So anyway, that's what Dick Cunha has been doing for the last 20 years. And as you can see, I'm not in Peru, and I'm not quite dissolved or passed on yet. Why don't we take a little break now, and I'll meet you on my patio and try and answer some of your other questions that you've got in mind here. Okay? See you later. Well, Tom, while I'm waiting here for Art to join me in this little portion of the answer back, I'll try and, as you see, I'll get your questions, all of them. My God. I'll try and answer a couple of these for you until we get ready for him. Down to, let's start in question number 4 was, have you ever appeared in any of your own films? Well, the answer to that is no. No, thank busy enough behind the scenes not to get up in front of the camera or stumble in front of the camera. Although I know that the producer on Girl in Room 13 wanted me to play the part of the police officer in Brazil when we were in dire need of an actor for the part because we couldn't find anyone that spoke English well enough to do it. But again, I was a busy little boy in that particular production too, so I declined that. I figured I'd do enough acting behind the camera. Okay. Question number 3. Well, let's go back to question number 2. Do you have any affinity for horror films in general? If so, which are your favorites? Did any influence you while making your own 4 films? What do you think of the newer type of horror films with their emphasis on gore and sex? You can see we're getting ready to have a brunch out here, so you'll excuse the distractions. I'll just continue on here. No, I have no affinity for horror films in general. And I really have no favorites other than the great masters, the Frankenstein, the Draculas, and the old films. I think, as I may have already told you, which I haven't filmed yet, but I will put ahead of this on your reel, all of the crackpot horror films of the modern times now in our cassette library. And I don't dislike them. I prefer not to see a lot of blood and guts spilled all over the floor. And again, I believe in entertainment, not being scared to death. So I have no general feeling towards any particular horror films, especially those in the era of the 50s. Did any influence you while making your own 4 films? No, thank you. What do you think of the newer type of horror films with their emphasis on gore and sex? Well, I guess there's a place for them. And again, if people like that, I think they're entitled to see what they'd like to see. Entertainment is, that's entertainment to them, well, more power to them. Okay, now you have here, did you direct any other films besides the 4 horror pictures for Astor and the Girl in Room 13? Okay, this will go back and help answer part of the questions about screencraft and its formation and everything. I guess generally my biographical statistics, which I will include in another segment, brings us up to Toby Anguish time. Now, Toby Anguish was a fellow who had a film rental company, and that was 16mm films and for home movies. And he acquired the rights to the Hopalong Cassidy series. And since there was no contract at that time, including television, they felt legally they needed some sort of written permission to put them on television. And they felt that should come from Bill Boyd, who you may or may not know played Hopalong Cassidy. Now, a fellow by the name of Pop Sherman was a producer at that time, produced most of those films for him. And the writer of the Hopalong Cassidy series, whose name just skips me for a minute, Mulberry, well, I'm sure that you probably know who he was, had Toby got him, well, let me go back a little further. Toby was in question of the legal rights of putting these on television. Hopalong Cassidy, Bill Boyd, had a rodeo in Hawaii, and they went broke down there, and they were all stuck down there and couldn't get back. So consequently, Toby Anguish put up, and with the bottom line being, if he paid for Bill Boyd's expenses and his company to get out of Hawaii, that Bill would go to the writer of the series, who they felt had the most legal rights on the series, and get his permission to put them on television, because they were very good friends. And that's just exactly what happened. Bill was bailed out of Hawaii and his troupe, and went back to Vermont somewhere. It's been a long time since this happened, so my memory is not quite up on that. And anyway, got permission for the use of these on television. And which brings me up to the story, and then Toby Anguish made many, many millions of dollars on these series on television, because they were as popular on Sunday night movies as was the Texaco Star Theater with Milton Berle on Wednesday night. And consequently, Toby started a studio, a small studio here, and he had the strange name of Toby Anguish, but he had a fine studio, and he employed me as a, you do everything. Now, I just come out of the service, and we're just ready to tear the world apart. So I became his camera person, his writer, his director, his janitor, and any particular job that came up. We started doing a 20-minute series with a fellow by the name of Doy Odell. He was a singing cowboy. And because at that time, it was the early days of television, just very started out here, 1947, I guess, they thought the television hour would be cut up into 20-minute segments. And consequently, we started this series, we made 13 20-minute shows with this cowboy, Doy Odell. It's called The Adventures of Marshall Odell. And we made these on 16 millimeter at the amazing cost of about $1,000 a piece. And it was not too difficult to do that in those days, in as much as the industry was bankrupt, film industry. They were making no cowboy films, and so we'd just go down to Gower Street, which is known as Gower Gulch in those days, and pick up a cowboy and offer him $10 a day and some expenses for his car to get to the location. And we had all the cowboys we needed for that. So that started my career as cameraman, director, and writer. Doy Odell's wife, she and I would write the series, and we'd go out and produce them, and we'd have stunt persons and just general things. And for under $1,000, they were very good quality pictures. Believe it or not, I'd like very much to be able to get a hold of some prints of those, but they've suddenly disappeared. Toby's passed away since that time, and I don't know what's happened to his estate and his movies. But nevertheless, during the time that I was with Toby, we must have produced some 300 or 400 short subjects for television, including a series with Bob Steele, Captain Bob Steele of the Border Patrol, and a series called Popular Science that at one time was made for Paramount with a producer by the name of Jerry Fairbanks. And Toby bought the rights to these, and then we updated them and added to them, and we made something like 200 of those for television, and quite a few other series. So I did have quite a bit of experience at writing and camera personing and directing, and oh yes, and someone had to edit them.
and then we would take them into our own dubbing room, which we had a very nice facility for, and edit them. And sometimes we even did the negative cutting. But so I got a good rounded knowledge of the industry from the bottom right on up. And that will bring us up to date. Art Jacobs worked with me, and I remember well when we did some of the Doy Odell television shows where he would sit and play as the crew for that. We'd pre-light that, and Doy would sit out on the set on his little camp stool or whatever prop we had at the time, and he would hit the slate with the markers, mark the markers, because I was behind the camera and Art was the sound man. And he'd hit the markers and then throw the slate out of scene and start the scene. And often it became a gag. You'd throw the slate at either Art or myself and disrupt things for quite some time. But we'd have to shoot about 5 of these in one day to make out with them. So we were busy little people. So this was our initial experience after the war in film production. Okay, I think our brunch is just about set here, so I'm going to pass on for a little while. Pass on, that's not a nice phrase. I'm going to lay low for a little bit, and I'll get back to you in a little bit. Okay, what I want to do first is I want to introduce my friend and partner, Mr. Jacobs, Art Jacobs, who I've used an excuse for all this length of time for not sending you these answers, Tom. And we're finally together now, and now we're going to get some of the answers out. Let's start with the formation of screencraft. I've already on the previous tape ahead of this explained about Mr. Toby Anguish and his company and how we worked for him and how we made Doy Odell pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I think we can start from that point on. If you want to tell them about the fact that Toby wanted out, okay?
Yeah, actually, Toby was getting ready to retire from the business, and Dick and I decided that we would like to take over the studio. Did you explain about the studio, that
Yes.
what we had there, all the
Right.
facilities, right? And I had a small editorial service, and we decided to join forces, Richard and I, and take over the complete operation that Toby had, which included the stage, the dubbing facilities, and the editing rooms, and everything else combined with it. And we formed Screencraft Enterprises, Inc. And we were on Melrose Avenue, and it was interesting that across the street was Filmcraft, Inc., which did the Groucho Marx show, which led to a lot of confusion for a while.
Yeah, right. So we had a nice stage. I didn't tell you about that. It was what was it? 2,000 square feet.
It was 40 by 50.
Yeah, 40 by 50 feet, and it was great for all the kind of things that we did back in there. Okay, we took over the studio and we used it for as a production service. We rented out the stage, and we also did editing and dubbing for people.
Right, and we did the last 39 Lone Rangers. We did the editorial on them. Remember?
Right. How well do I remember?
Just prior to making the Giant from the Unknown.
Right. Okay. We got involved in production. We made some television commercials. I remember we did some Texaco commercials with Harry Von Zell.
Mm-hmm.
And
we did the Langendorf bread.
Yeah.
We did Dennison's chili con carne. We did Cheerios.
oh yes,
Wheaties.
That's right.
Yeah, we had quite a few now that I think of
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Why did we stop?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I remember. It was the advertising agency guys
Yeah.
we couldn't live with.
Yeah, we we couldn't live with them then also.
Right. As you found out all through the
Right.
years.
Okay, so at that point we decided through some egging from a friend of ours, our good friend, what's his name? Charlie Brown.
You mean Ralph Brooke?
Ralph Brooke.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. We had a friend, Ralph Brooke, who was interested in movies and things, and he kept egging us on and saying, why are you guys messing around here? Wouldn't it be better to make a movie or do something? And he finally convinced us that'd be kind of fun to do, and maybe we could make $1.25 out of it, and so we got involved, okay? And that's when we decided to make Giant from the Unknown. What did we first call it?
The Giant from Devil's Crag.
Yeah, Devil's Crag.
I think you might be interested in knowing how we decided to make that particular picture. You remember we were all sitting in the office one day and we decided, what kind of a picture do we want to make? And then we said, well, we should make a monster picture.
Yeah,
And what kind of a monster? Because I remember it was, when I thought about it afterwards, it was kind of funny. We sat there, let's see, there was you and I and Ralph and Frank Tausig. And who else was there? Anybody else?
No, that was about it.
That was it, the four of us, yeah. Well, at first we had tried to get a script already written. Remember,
Right, we started looking for scripts.
Scripts, yeah. We had about 100.
Lizard, we couldn't afford the lizard.
Yeah.
Giant, whatevers. And about that time, who was the fellow that did all the special effects in his films? Gordon, Burt
Gordon, right. Burt Gordon
right.
and Burt Harris, the two of them.
Yeah,
he had a partner with them.
Right, and they were making giant spiders and monsters and animals and things that came on in. We figured we didn't have the talent for special effects, so we needed some kind of an inexpensive monster. And we thought just a giant. We had seen a fellow, I think it was 7'7", that roamed around Hollywood
For a while, yeah. And what was the fellow's name that we had that made all the fiberglass stuff? Remember?
that we used.
That we used.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't recall his name, but he did all the shields and the helmets and everything else.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, so we decided on a monster to be inexpensive. It would be a big, tall guy, and interviewed quite a few people, and ended up with a fellow that we finally used, and that was Buddy Bear.
Buddy Bear.
And one of your other questions down here, what's Buddy Bear like to work with? Well, he was a gem. He was he really pitched in and did everything, and
he was actually too sweet to be a monster. He was such a nice guy.
No, he was a good guy. Okay, now you ask here. Okay, so that's how Screencraft got formed. It was left over from Toby Anguish Productions, and so we inherited a great deal of studio facilities, and got
inherited, Richard.
Well,
we hawked our souls for them.
Right, yeah, well, it was all sitting there.
Yeah,
and so we got into the film production. Okay, and at that particular time, then we needed some extra money. And that's when we found our other friend who came on in with us there, and put up some cash in the line, and we budgeted the picture at what did we budget it at?
I think it was budgeted around $55,000.
Yeah,
and we had $30,000 cash, and it actually, I think if I remember correctly, the final cost was $54,000 on that picture.
Right. Okay.
And so we had about $24,000 that we owed when we finished. We had in deferments in the lab and so forth.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So we had. So we came up with $30,000 cash and a lot of good friends. Now, of course, we used all the crews. In the meantime, we'd had crews and grips and makeup people, including. Well, no, we never used Jack before.
No, we hadn't used Jack.
Yeah,
right.
but he was available.
Yeah.
And so we got in touch with him, and he was very excited about it. And
marvelous man.
Yeah, was glad to get involved in it. And no, we had. You also asked here. We had no idea what the monster should look like, and it all determined by who we cast. And so when Buddy worked out so great, we said, okay, put a face on him and make him a monster. And that's what we came up with. I'm not even sure if we did any prior time on that. Did we ever do an experiment with him to see what he looked like?
No, I think
that was the first morning on the set.
Jack Pierce took him. I think it took about 2 hours, and then 2-3 hours, I forget.
Yeah,
and Jack took Buddy aside, put him in the chair, and started working on him.
We had no money for preparation on it, so it says, okay, make a monster. We'll go out and get the location set up and do some filming, and you bring out a monster, and he did. And it worked out great.
Does Tom know what our shooting schedule was?
No, he had no idea what it was. We had 6 days, 6 days of shooting. However, we had prepared the picture for at least a month ahead of time, and we tried to figure the schedule so that it would work out regardless of what happened. We shot at Big Bear, about 100 miles or so from Los Angeles proper. up in the mountains there, and that's what the snows were a little late that year. And I know the resort area there, we shot a great deal in fawn skin, and they were all anxiously awaiting the snow so the skiers would come on up in there. So they were glad to have us at that time because it was just dried up. It was between seasons. So we were able to get a good deal on the motel that we stayed at there. That helped a great deal. So anyway, that's what happened when we finally did get the snowstorm. It worked in great with the film. We were fortunate enough that it stayed on. It lasted for the sequence. I think we just barely got it all in before the snow left us, and I don't recall having to make any phony snow. Although I think we added some in there optically when it got.
We had a couple scenes that we had shot that didn't have snow in them that we had to add optically,
Oh, yeah,
otherwise
right.
It wouldn't match.
Right. Okay. I believe that.
Dick, you sound like we were anticipating a snowstorm. I think if you remember, when we woke up that morning and there was snow on the ground, you lost 10 pounds and turned gray.
Yeah, right.
Because we were halfway through the shooting and there was no snow at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, we had to figure something out. That worked out.
Yeah, that worked out fine though.
Yeah. So you asked how I also became the cinematographer on the Giant. Well, I was the cinematographer on the Giant, and I became the director on the Giant.
It was cheaper.
Yeah, that was cheaper than hiring anyone. And inasmuch as we'd already made, I don't know how many, I talked earlier about our Doyo Dell experiences
right.
in our 20-minute
And
excursions
you forgot the
there.
Bob Steels?
And oh no, I didn't forget the Bob Steels, and that's again, Bob at that time was our friend. Guess he was our friend and came along and helped us with the picture. We might mention it this time only because you were involved in a picture just recently where I don't think anyone was very cooperative on the picture versus what we had. We had just full cooperation, just everyone, the cast, the crew, and everybody just busted their backs to.
Everybody did everything. You remember Bill Hunt and his drivers, they would function as grips and whatever else was necessary.
Oh, yeah, right.
And whatever we had to have done, somebody was there to help do it. Yeah, you're right. And today, the picture that I just finished, Dick, nobody would do anything, and the first thing they would do is turn us into the union for something.
Right. Which reminds me, in discussing this yesterday, you reminded me about we set the word out on our first day of location, although the whole picture was made on location. We told everybody that we were going to shoot at Malibu,
at Paradise Cove.
Paradise Cove,
Right.
at the beach there, and notified everybody that they were going to Paradise Cove. And that was strictly to confuse the union representatives and the agents and so forth. And everyone was so surprised when we got in the bus and headed in the opposite direction from Paradise Cove. And that gave us a 2-day start on all of the unions before they really did find out where we were hidden off in the mountains. And by God, they found us.
They did find us, yes.
They finally located us. And we had to hide most of our equipment. So we
we had the trucks hidden in the woods. And fortunately, we had used the $5 extras the first day.
Yeah, right. We got them out of the way
Yeah.
because that was all very illegal.
All of our pictures look like union representative conventions.
You're right. They always like to visit our sets, as they did. Okay, so we shot the film in 6 days. We averaged about, I believe, 21 pages a day.
Except for that Wednesday when you shot 20 minutes of film,
Yeah, right.
which I'll never forget as long as I live.
No, that was a very big day, and we had to do that to get out in time. Yeah. Okay, so we had, so you asked here, yet most of the Giant was photographed outdoors, and yet we had to use a phony indoor set. Well, we had to buy an inexpensive set, and we had a few pickup shots that we had to do in there. And when we killed the poor Giant,
which one where we shot the Giant. Oh, yeah.
When he was shot and some of the chases in there.
Yeah.
But we had, to be able to pull it in on this kind of money, it was necessary to use a painted backdrop and, again, a very fast schedule to get on there. Yeah, so you asked about the snowstorm. Giant is a beautiful atmospheric final scene filmed in what certainly looks like an actual snowstorm. Was this planned, or did you capitalize on a sudden snow? The answer was yes, we capitalized on a sudden snow. We had, might mentioning, because we just ran the film together last night to remind ourselves what it was all about. And we were reminded of the big fight scene inside of the mill, which was a mill built for What picture was
Trail of the Lonesome Pine, yeah.
it? It was originally built for that.
1936, I think.
Right, and it was left over there, and we worked till midnight shooting the fight sequence, and discovered at the end of the night, or when we quit, it's the reason we quit, that the shutter in the camera was closed, and we had absolutely nothing that night. We had to come back the next night, and we had an abbreviated session the next night, and the fight was cut down considerably from what it was before. Okay, moving right along. These are, by the way, these are, Art has not had a chance to look at these questions, and I haven't spent a great deal of time on them, so. Irish McCullough asks here, was probably one of the most popular performers to have appeared in your 4 horror films. What was Miss McCullough like to work with?
Sheena, Queen of the Jungle.
Right. Yeah. I guess of all the people that we used in the first few films, she was. Well, she wasn't difficult to
No,
work
she really
with.
wasn't. When I think back on it, compared to some of the kids today,
Yeah, right.
and she had variety,
Yes.
so really it wasn't too bad. You have to remember that actors and actresses are strange people anyhow, aren't they, Richard?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Without getting into that too much,
Yeah,
they're all
right,
difficult
right, yeah.
at best.
Yeah, they're okay. All righty. You took, okay, for She Demons, you took on the extra chore of screenwriter, as with your cinematic duties on Giant. Did necessity, budget restrictions prompt these double duties, or were these extra jobs one that you wanted and chose to do? I think at the time I did them because they were necessary. I don't think we were.
Who else was going to do it?
Yeah, right. Somebody had to do it.
Somebody had to do it.
And I recall at the time,
Who worked with you on that? Anybody?
well,
Forget.
no.
No.
Did what's his name, the writer that did all the others work on this?
Frank?
No, not Frank. No, the fellow that did all the daytime shows. Don't you remember? The daytime show writer. He was a friend of Mark Fredericks.
Yeah, who was it? I can't even think of his name now.
Yeah. Well, I forgot. It's been a long time
Long
ago.
time.
Yeah, long time
It's
ago.
30 years ago almost.
Yeah, we did it. I did it because we needed a script, and I was there. Okay, moving right along. She Demons contained a good bit of more humor than the other films, and I think it was just kind of chung. Oh, here he is, H.E. Barry.
Oh.
Right, yeah. Tom knows more about these than we
No,
do.
H.E.
Tom,
Barry,
yeah, right,
right.
yeah, H.E. Barry's. And no, I think those are my little. I was trying to get even with the world at the time and just having a good time, and these were really tongue-in-cheek films, and we enjoyed doing them a great deal and had as much fun as possible in doing them. And they might have been private jokes, if you please, or whatever. And so they were put in there purposely, and I have to take all the credit for that. All right. There was unusually strong violence and graphic visual shock. The doctor suddenly showered with lava, guard shot in the face, and especially Lenny Tana tearing away her bandages to reveal the burned skull
was
face.
Lenny Tana?
Yeah, what? Well, she was the lady that wore the bandages through the whole movie. Yes.
Oh.
And when the lady tore her face,
I always thought that was your wife.
yeah, well, that was my that was my wife. She's over there. She was the face that was revealed because Lenny Tana didn't want to wear all that terrible makeup, and so my wife was the face under the bandages for the reveal scene. However, Lenny Tana walked around with the bandages the rest of the film. All right. Who took credit for the showering of the lava and stuff? Well, we just picked
I
up
think
stuff.
that's, yeah.
Right.
I think Mr. Barry really had
No. You know, he
In fact,
wasn't there.
I still wonder why his name was on anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, he did an outline. He did a lot of the things there. Okay, we had a nice dance routine with the Diane Nellis dancers.
Yeah.
And yes, they did play the disfigured
Yeah.
She Demons. And they stayed with us. And no, that was all part of the same group. We had a little company, if you please. And
one bongo player.
yeah, right.
That was a rhythm section.
Yeah, right. That was a whole rhythm
A
section.
whole rhythm section with one
Yeah.
bongo player.
Okay, do you recall your budget and shooting schedule for Frankenstein's Daughter? Okay, before we get on into that, after the two films that we made there, Art had an opportunity to go
With the Lone Ranger.
with the Lone Ranger, right?
And
As
Lassie.
as we had mentioned, we had been doing a good deal of post-production for Jack Rather and the Lone Ranger company. And so after we had finished these two pictures, Art had the opportunity to go with Mr. Rather and that group of things. And so Art was not involved in Frankenstein's Daughter and or The Missile to the Moon.
No, I
forgot
missed
about
that
yes.
rare opportunity.
Yeah, right. That good opportunity.
It's
there.
one of the regrets of my life.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, by the time a lot of these questions on Frankenstein's Daughter, we might just go past for a minute here that do not.
Yeah, something
involve,
about. Did Sandra Knight play the she-monster, or was it a double? Oh, that's on the Frankenstein's Daughter, right?
That's Frankenstein's Daughter. While we're on that, yes, she did. She did all the did all the nonsense in that particular thing there. But it was okay. Let's.
You know that she, Giant from the Unknown, if I remember correctly. I think from the time we decided to do the picture until the time we finished the answer print was 60 days.
That's right.
It was
Yes,
2 months.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
8 weeks altogether.
All right. That's part of this. Good. I'm glad you brought that up, Art, because we made that picture strictly on speculation.
Yeah.
Okay. We said, okay, we're going to make a picture, and which we were told was not the thing to do. We're going to make a picture, and then we're going to put it under our arm. And Art took it back to New York.
It took longer to sell it than to make it.
Yeah, right. But we had a lot of confidence in it, and with a $54,000 budget, we thought sure that we'd be able to come out of it okay. When Art got back to New York, and I think you ran it for various distributors.
Yeah, right.
But Astor Pictures.
Yeah, I had worked for Astor once, remember, a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's how I was aware of them.
Right. And so they came up and said, yeah, fine and dandy, if we'll accept this picture, only if you make some more for us, because they wanted to put them out in twosomes. And that's how...
Double bills.
Yeah, right. And that's how the second picture,
She Demons.
She Demons, came about. So we made the two pictures for them. And...
they gave us $80,000 for She Demons. I think we spent 65.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But that included our salaries.
Yeah, everything.
We had salaries in there for producer, director, and all that sort of nonsense in there. By that time, we had figured that I was busy enough directing, and Meredith Nicholson, a very good friend of mine, did the cinematography on
She Demons. Yeah.
She Demons.
Yeah.
And
Did Dick Rollins work on that too?
No.
Was he? Didn't he work with us as an assistant on something?
Yes, but not on that particular
Not in that picture. I forget.
Okay,
We had some famous people worked with us at one time or another.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, now let me just review here, Art, so that I don't miss anything while you're in here. Okay, well that brings us into the metamorphosis, if you please, into Leighton Film Productions. So at that time we dissolved when Art had the opportunity to go on with Jack Rather.
You stayed on. You and Mark went together.
Right. Mark Fredericks then formed Leighton Film Productions,
which was the name of the street he lived on, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's right. Leighton Drive.
Yeah.
And we formed Leighton Productions, and I made the other three pictures for him.
You had that marvelous experience in Brazil.
Yes, yeah, that's not Peru. I didn't run away to Peru. We ran away to Brazil, and made the final picture, which I'll discuss.
You came back 20 years older from that.
Yeah, that's a whole article in itself, right? That's another horror film. Okay, so
I think that should do it.
Yeah, I think that should do it. Okay, but just again to establish what you have done since that time, Art. Why don't you just tell Tom a little bit about yourself and some of your experiences after that era with Jack and where you went from there?
I spent 9.5 years with the Rather Corporation, ended up as vice president in charge of production and distribution. I set up their domestic and foreign distribution of their television company. And I was involved in the production of Lassie for many years and the 2 Lone Ranger features that we made while I was there before this last fiasco. After that, I left them and I went to work for Danny Thomas and Sheldon Leonard and Aaron Spelling at Paramount.
I forgot about those.
Yeah, I was there for several years. And I decided, in fact, I was co-producer on a feature at Paramount called The Dirt Gang, which AIP distributed. We made that, when was it, 1969 or 70, I forget. And at that time I decided I'd been in production for most of my life, and I really thought I'd like to see really what happens to a picture when it's finished. And I got into independent theatrical distribution in the United States, and I did that for several years. In 1975, my wife and I moved to Europe. We lived in London for 4 years, where I was an independent producer's representative. And right now I'm back in the States, although we're in Europe 2 or 3 times a year. I'm selling independent productions, and for 15 years I've been trying to get Dick Cunha to make another picture with me. And we're hoping one of these days, we're talking about it.
Yeah, one of these days.
Yeah.
Very good, Art. But let's just go back now. I see back in here he talks about a biography. And part of that biography, which I'm going to do later, of course, included Art, because many, many years ago, prior to any of this formation, Art, as I recall,
I was a production assistant.
With a company that was making Westerns.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the company now.
Walton Maddox was called Western Attractions
Yeah.
Inc. We made the Sunset Carson Westerns.
Right. And it was at that time that Art hired me. I believe Art hired me for, I forget what picture it was, with Ollie Drake.
That was when I was
Ollie
the
Drake.
production manager on a thing called Osage.
Yes, okay. Oh, all right, okay.
Right, remember?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay. that
Bob
was it.
Gilbert was the producer, Ollie Drake the director, and it had Eddie, what the heck was his
Eddie
name?
Norris.
Eddie Norris, Noel Neal,
Noel Neal.
the girl that played Superman. She played, in the Superman series, she played Lois Lane.
Right. Okay. That was a long
A
time
long
ago.
time ago, yeah. We did that
Long time ago.
in Pawhuska, Oklahoma.
Mhm.
I remember they wouldn't let you in the hotel.
Right, yeah. I get a little dark when I'm out in the sun,
Yes.
and they really wouldn't let me.
They called me. They said that this Mr. Cunha has to find another hotel. It's true. And I also remember, Richard, that I had hidden the return tickets for you and I.
Yeah, right.
And we were the only ones that had the tickets to go home. Everybody drove back. They ran out of money in the middle.
The company ran out of money. We had a little problem there, but also during that whole period there, we worked for some of the same people, not necessarily at the same time, but with Spade Cooley Productions.
Yes.
Who was a Western singer.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, he was a band leader.
And singer.
And Spade Cooley Films, and
We did a serial together too. Remember the mask? What was it? The Lone Avenger or something? It was a
Yes.
takeoff on the Lone Ranger.
Right.
It was before we worked for the Lone Ranger.
very
Was
well.
it for the Alexander brothers?
Yes, okay.
Max
So,
and Arthur Alexander.
Anyway, part of my early career was as a cinematographer and an assistant camera person on these various Westerns, and that's part of my early biography. Okay, I think we've covered most of this.
And you might want to
nonsense.
know
Yeah.
also that Dick was probably one of the best stillmen ever to hit Hollywood.
Oh yeah, well, okay. I started at stills, and again, I'll go back into that when we get to the biographical information about
It runs in his
yourself.
family. His kids are good stillmen now.
Yeah. I take after my kids. The dance routine, she contains some, she doesn't a bunch of restrictions, did necessary budget restrictions. Can you see a few words about all those nice people who designed the rock creatures? You remember the fellow that designed the rock creatures for our film is the same fellow that designed our plastic.
Yeah, I
fiberglass.
can't. I can picture him right now.
That was brand new in the time.
Yeah.
They weren't making props out of
Fiberglass.
and it was one of the innovations.
Well, we couldn't afford the real ones, and he said he could make it out of the fiberglass. And I remember it stunk up the whole studio, but he sure did a good job on it.
Yeah, we saved a lot of money there. Okay, well, listen, thank you, Art. And
It's always a pleasure.
right, very good enough, Tom. And I'll pick up a
I
little
want my
later.
check before I sign the release.
We'll pick up later on this thing. Excuse me, I've got to go. You see, we're just doing this ourselves, and I have to turn the camera off. Right.
You did turn the recorder on.
Oh, hi there. Well, looks like we're back in our old place in the back of the shoppy here. I'll try and round this thing off for you. Get this thing out of the way, aren't you sorry you asked now? Okay. Do you recall your budget and shooting schedule for Frankenstein's Daughter or any location sites? Yes? All of our budgets were under $80,000, and we tried very hard to bring them in for approximately $65,000. And the $20,000 was our profit. Excuse me, let me turn down the sound. $20,000 was our profit margin, so we tried very hard to bring them in at 65, and I think we were successful in most cases. When we turned the negative over after the picture was accepted, we were paid $80,000. And our shooting schedules were always 6 days. We had 6 days in which to complete the shows. And I believe in Missile to the Moon, they gave us an extra day of pre-production where we did some of the monster scenes out at Red Rock Canyon, about 80 miles from Los Angeles. Did Sandra Knight play the she-monster, or was it a double? No, she indeed did play the she-monster when it was not that crazy-looking guy that, as you mentioned, didn't look like anyone. Can you comment on this unusual situation? Well, it wasn't an unusual situation at all. It was a situation where we just got trapped again without any money. We had no preparation time, and the monster was designed on the set on the first day of shooting. And suddenly someone came up to me and appeared and said, "Look, here's your monster," and I nearly died. But the show must go on, and so we said okay, and kept on shooting there. So it wasn't that monster wasn't designed like that. It just ended up like that, and once we'd achieved that, we had to keep it. What actor played the monster? Boy, I've tried looking up my records, and I just unfortunately can't recall. I do know that he was a very patient man, and he suffered a great deal with that makeup that was required for him, and the suit. He was very, very patient, and the speed that we had to shoot at, it wasn't like he could rest between between takes. He was always right on call, and as I recall, he was right there all the time. Can you say a few words about some of your players? John Ashley, oh yeah, well, they were all keen. Donald Murphy was just absolutely great. Sally Todd, Harold Lloyd Jr., and Miss Knight. It always seems that I don't recall what's happened to any of these people, and it seems whenever I make a picture, that's the person's last picture, and must be something I do. Okay, now almost as startling as Tanya's unmasking in She Demons is Donald Murphy's acid face in Frankenstein. Was it Murphy beneath the makeup? Yes, it was. And as I recall very vividly, the makeup man on that, who by the way was Paul Stanhope, created that effect with torn tissue. Kleenex tissue, and got that remarkable effect. I was quite pleased with that. That worked out very good. We did want Mr. Pierce to do the makeup on that, but he was not available for the picture. Okay, can you recall your budget on Missile to the Moon? Yes, as I told you, it was under about $65,000. Whose idea was to base this film on the earlier Astor release? Well, it was Astor's idea. They thought, well, shucks, it'd be a good idea to redo the movie. They could get a little bit of sex and have some pretty girls wandering through the scenes. And it was patterned after their movie. So, no, the spiders, the giant spiders were left over from a Universal picture, and we just rented that and put it back together. Who designed the rock creatures' costumes? What were they made of? They were made of sponge rubber that was cast. And for the sake of me, I cannot remember the very creative man that made those for us. And he was the same person that made the fiberglass outfits for the giant from the unknown. Matter of fact, the first title for that movie was the Diablo Giant, and then it was they were afraid that no one would know what Diablo meant, so we changed the name to the Giant from Diablo Pass, and finally the distributors determined the name Giant from the Unknown, which didn't unplease us. That was okay with me. What was it like working with so many beauty queens? A real pain. None of them were actresses. Couldn't hit marks and couldn't say lines, and it was quite frustrating. Was there any inspiration derived then from a current Allied artist released Queen of Outer Space? No. I don't remember the picture, and I certainly didn't go see it. Of your 4 horror films, which is your favorite? Well, the most horrible film was The Girl in Room 13. And it's not one of the horror films, but no, my favorite was and always will be The Giant from the Unknown, because that was the most fun to make. We did it in a spirit of fun. We had the most cooperation, and that was a ball. Are there any you were unhappy with, and if so, what reasons? Well, I think the biggest disappointment to me was Frankenstein's daughter, only because of our monster creator, and I can't blame anyone for that except the cost and not being able to have enough money to create a monster that would represent Miss Knight, if you please. So that was my biggest disappointment, and as far as Missile to the Moon, the spaceships, and again, the money restrictions were so meager on that it was just impossible to create the proper atmosphere for a spaceship. Although I think we did, on the money that we did have, the interior of the spaceship worked well. It included many pieces of grip equipment, as I recall, and we used a big dimmer bank for some of the controls on the missile, and we just scraped together whatever we could, to make do, and that's all there was. It was X number of dollars. It wasn't like you don't run over on these. You shoot the opening scenes, you shoot the end scenes, and then fill in the picture in between. And so if you run out of days, somehow they'll dissolve between what you missed and the next scenes in there. So fortunately, we didn't miss anything, or if we did, it wouldn't have been missed, believe me. Okay, I think I've answered most of your questions, and hopefully in there someplace is something you can hang a story on, and that's your job. So if you still think there's something there, you're welcome to it. I appreciate your patience a great deal in waiting this long length of time. But if it does serve some good, you've got the best that I can, best information that I can give you at this time. I guess if you have any more questions, I'd be glad to answer them on the phone, if you please, not on videotape. So thank you very much. It's almost closing time. By the way, today is Sunday. Today's date is about April the 10th. It is April the 10th. And so we're open to the shop here from 12:30 to 5 on Sundays. And it's time to close now. Paul is still out there tending to the customers, or hopefully some customers. It's usually very quiet. We just do it as a service to people who want to rent films for Sunday afternoon. So, Tom, again, you've got it. Thank you very much. We'll see you.